Welcome to Highgate Allotments, a green oasis in the midst of the city for 125 years. There are more than 170 plots, and it takes 2 to 3 years to rise to the top of the waiting list. This film is just a snapshot of the people and life here on the allotments, made for the Highgate Festival 2020.
I've been gardening since I was 14, and I'm very keen on growing flowers, really, as you probably noticed. And it's the one thing that really motivates me to get up and do something. So it's a big part of my life, so it'll be difficult when I have to give it up.
So flowers, now do you want to give us a few tips for people who are just newly starting this? What's particularly good, nice at the moment?
Well, the Sweet Williams are very good at the moment, and the catmint.
The Sweet Williams, did you grow them from seed at home first, or how did you start them off?
I sow them in the ground up here.
Yeah, straight in the ground.
Yes.
What time of year, just so people know?
The Sweet Williams, as soon as they're seeded, they're in flower at the moment.
Yes.
As soon as they're seeded, you collect the seed and sow it, and then you'll have plants for the following year. At the moment, because of the various restrictions around COVID, I'm down here probably about once every 2 days, maybe even once a day at some point. So actually I'm here a lot. In fact, it was really ironic because I was telling one of my neighbours that I was thinking of giving it up at Christmas. I was thinking, too much, difficult. But I'm so glad I didn't, because actually, it's been a real lifesaver, really. I think that probably the most important thing for me is the relationships you have with your neighbours. We've got some really nice people in this bit, you know, and they just become friends. You know, it's not a deep friendship, but it's a friendship you can talk about what's growing, what's not growing, and that is just fantastic.
And vine, how long have you had that?
That was here. That was here when I came. And I thought, well, it's just a sort of affectation. But actually, about 3 years ago, we had something like 27 or 30 bunches of edible grapes, really. So I'm beginning to become a bit of an expert in viniculture. So at this time of year, you prune the new lengthy shoots, and you start to expose the flowers to the sun. And of course, this is the west side of the garden, so you get quite a lot of sun.
The eucalypt doesn't flower till it's like this way. It's been an absolute godsend to have it, because it allowed, we're lucky we've got a house and a garden at home, but to have this to come to and to be busy and with your hands in the soil, I just think is wonderfully good for you. Everybody should have a chance to have their hands in the soil. I think it's just, even when there isn't something like COVID-19 going on, I just think it's really good for people.
What are your main projects? What are the ones at the moment that are really good?
Well, the greenhouse is looking really good. We've really kept on top of the weeds this year, and the tomatoes are like this big now, and we put French beans in early in the greenhouse, like in March maybe, April, and so they're growing they grow right up over the roof, and they produce leaves like dinner plates. My parsnips, I have a whole row of beautifully spaced parsnips.
Oh, I've only got 4.
Yeah, so I'm delighted with those. So this is the greenhouse. You can buy lettuces in little, you buy them from the shop, and they're in sort of little plugs with their roots still on. Yeah. So Dan said, why don't we just try planting them up here? So we chopped them off and ate them, and then we brought the little stumps up and replanted them, and they regrow like that. This is physalis, which is Cape gooseberry. We just cut it right back and let it sprout up again. There's a fungus that you get on peaches, and it keeps it off if you have them covered. Look at our cherries. This netting is to keep the birds off, but the netting inside is to keep off, there's this fruit fly that arrived from the continent that attacks cherries.
Right.
Welcome to Highgate Primary School's allotment plot. This is our vegetable garden and herb garden where the children come and plant and harvest lots of vegetables over the year. Our Year 1 class are currently learning about flowers and insects. So each week we'll be coming here and planting little seedlings and then potting on as well. Here we have our beautiful little house, which was made by some of the teachers at Highgate Primary School and designed by one of the parents. We do storytelling in there, and the children have hot chocolate when they come here for forest school. And then over here we also have our storytelling and fire pit area. So the children do learn how to make fires, and in the winter they build fires and tell stories, which is lovely.
I've worn my Diggers t-shirt today because I think there's a really close connection between the Diggers movement and allotments and the whole allotment movement. The Diggers, for those that don't know, were one of the many radical groups that sprung up during what used to be called the English Civil War, but I certainly would call the English Revolution, back in the 17th century. They believed that everyone had a right to a piece of land. And if you could read this, because I can't read upside down.
England is not a free people till the poor have no land, have a free allowance to dig and labour the commons. Gerard Winstanley.
That's the man.
Yep.
He was the leader of the Diggers, and they believe that every man and woman should have enough land to feed themselves and their family, but that land would be held in common. Of course, they were eventually forced out and beaten up and so on, as you might expect. It's happened to a lot of people at that time, but those ideas have remained with us. Right through the enclosures and the enclosure of a common land, people held those ideas. And here we are on these allotments, which very much on the same principles, because the land itself is owned by the council, i.e. in common for all of us. We don't own this land, we lease it for as long as we are able and willing to grow stuff here. And we can grow whatever we like, food or vegetables or fruit or flowers. And then when we're no longer able, we hand it on to somebody else, hopefully in better heart than we found it. This year, one of the many things that have really worked really well this year are the covert family, the cubic family, the courgettes and the squashes. And funnily enough here, what you've got is a volunteer sunflower, which you'll find all over this plot, because I leave the sunflower seeds for the birds, and they just have sprung up everywhere. I'll be able to see some others, and there's some I've planted as well at the back. This is actually supposed to be the asparagus bed, and the asparagus is just finishing now, but I've put in sweet corn in between, which nobody would advise, but I'm hoping is going to work quite well. And there's some, obviously it's surrounded by hollyhocks that are self-sown and sunflowers and so on. There's a sweet spot just around now where hopefully you have the last of the asparagus and the beginning of the peas and the broad beans, which makes the most delicious risotto.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I've had an allotment here for 16, coming on 17 years. I started beekeeping 11 or 12 years ago, and there was a beekeeper here called Margaret who was 92, and she was a real inspiration, and she was one of the reasons why I started to keep bees. Unfortunately she's gone now, but her bees have moved on to somebody called Julia, so they're still going strong, so that's really nice. So here we go. Everything quite good, there's lots of bees in here. Try not to look too often, but generally once a week, particularly in the swarming season.
Hi, this is our shed shop, or trading shed if you prefer, and this is where Chairman Jim normally holds court. He sits behind the counter and says those immortal words, "What do we know?" So we're really looking forward to Jim coming back. He hasn't been able to operate the shop since March, of course, but we're hoping that he's going to be back very soon.
Hi, my name is Mo, and I've had this allotment for about 6 years. And it's a lovely plot. It's a lot of hard work, but it pays out in the end. It meant to me, it's a lifeline actually. Instead of getting stuck at home, you're here in the fresh air, lots of exercise, and it's like a meditation. It relaxes you, it makes you happy, it keeps your mood upwards. You forget all about the COVID. You feel very safe here in this environment. To be honest, everything I grow is doing very well at the moment. I harvested broad beans, onions, garlic. It's the weather is the boss, and hard work. You always must put a lot of work, especially when you take an allotment. Don't expect it to be perfect. It could be like a Serengeti, like a jungle. You have to do it up, you have to work it, you have to be very, very patient with it. Is everything good in life is here. Allotment is everything to me.
So we've all got different sections. This is Jack's part of the plot. He's got the Jack and the beanstalks there, and Bella's got her brassicas here, and Darcy, my 4.5-year-old, who's normally with us, she actually got the strawberry plot. No
Because
link.
she eats them all.
She eats them all. She spots them. She watches them grow and she talks to them, which is lovely. So she gets her little chair. She sits in front of these strawberries.
And Grandma's got the greenhouse. So this is our pond. This is my favourite bit of the allotment. I spend a lot of time looking at the frogs here. And this year we didn't get any tadpoles at all. The pond was thick and dirty and murky. I didn't want to use any chemicals, so I dredged it a little bit as best I could, and then topped it up with lots of fresh water, which I'd left to stand for a few days. And now it's come back to life, and we've had more lilies than we've probably had before.
I think with lockdown it's been really invaluable.
Absolutely.
Because it's enabled my mum to have a reason to get out. And even when we're not here, she's been down here at least twice a week. We've loved it as, you know, a kind of like a big family project.
Hello, this is Sue again, and this is our allotment, which we've had for about 4.5 years. And we're growing all our potatoes, flowers. We have a pond with our frogs in that get rid of the slugs. And this is our greenhouse with all our cucumbers, tomatoes and melons that John's growing. Even doing a pineapple plant from a pineapple we bought in the fruiterers. And we also do all our own cider from all the apples and press them. And we also do wine from our grapes. And also behind John has his cover that he does with all the brassicas in. And the purple sprouting broccoli is really lovely. It's lovely. Everything's so fresh and tastes so different. And got cherry trees and the old wheelbarrow that doesn't work. We put flowers in that. Well, correction, I've put flowers in that because I put flowers everywhere if I've got space. And we have all the different flowers for autumn coming up. So it takes it into the ice plants for the butterflies. And in the spring there's the daffodils that come up for the early bees that come out. And the raspberries are doing well all along there. They're autumn raspberries, so they don't need properly staking, and they usually avoid getting insects on them.
Hi, I'm Sally Jones. I've been on my plot for about 20 months now, although I've been on the allotment site for longer than that, so I've had some practice beforehand. And my shed was built by a friend of mine. It's half a greenhouse and half a shed really. And everything I've got on the plot this year has been grown from seeds that have germinated in there. I suppose my interest in gardening has developed over the last 4 or 5 years now. I really find it fulfilling to grow things from seed and to be able to eat it, and a lot of the produce I grow I give away to people, and during lockdown it's been amazing to be able to come here and work on the plot and not have to worry about distancing because you're naturally distanced from people. And it's been a fantastic thing to be able to do. I have to say, friends of mine who've never shown any interest in the allotment are dead keen to have one now. It's true.